think I'm already sad, and this isn't even the final chapter. We still got 3 chapters after this, and I'm already feeling it. So, first of all, we have some announcements. If you haven't already seen, Tokyo Ghoul Re has 3 chapters till its conclusion. So I think it's 3 after this one. We've been expecting it for a very long time. We never really had any stable indication on when the series would end, but we knew it was coming to a conclusion. We still don't know anything about part 3 and if that's even a possibility at this point. Seemingly there is a lot of build-up marketing wise for the ending of this story, so it's most likely at this point that Tokyo Ghoul is officially coming to its conclusion. No part 3, no anything, but you know, people are always gonna have hope. I'm gonna have hope for, you know, just to see how these final 3 chapters go, and I guess that will give us some indication for the future of the series potentially. If not, that's that. You know, nothing we can do about it, obviously. What does Ishida have in store for us? I think we're all very excited to find out. This chapter alone is kind of like the relevancy for Furuta's character that I wanted. The clarification, the reconfirmation, the reveal, everything that you could kind of picture and put into Furuta's character to make him more relatable. This is exactly what I was talking about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, when we were playing on Furuta's character and the early stages of it. I'm glad we jumped back to this situation because I wasn't sure if Ishida was going to jump towards the V organization situation with them controlling ghouls and revealing Eto Yoshimura and everything along those lines, because we still have a lot of stuff that's currently going on, and I guess we're just gonna fly through it at this point and kind of get rid of everything out of the picture. But this chapter was extremely worthwhile. Like, this is, you know, the pinnacle of what I wanted to see from Furuta. This gives him that sense of relatability, and if you read this chapter and do not feel anything for Furuta as a character, I don't know what to say. You're heartless. You're fucking heartless. I think Ishida has done Furuta's character justice. I know a lot of people were worried. I was very much worried for Furuta and how Ishida would play on him and bring his character to a conclusion. The fight was evidently cool, but it could have been a lot better. You know, I could say that about a lot of things, obviously, but Ishida has this sense of fighting where it's like 1 or 2 chapters. It's never necessarily drawn out, and I guess it's something that you have to get used to when reading Tokyo Ghoul. There's a lot of dialogue flung throughout the fighting, which is like a different pace. It kind of slows things down and interrupts things, but it's nice at the same time. So it's like an oxymoron. Like, it's really good, but it can also be really counterproductive and come off like cheap, if that makes sense. The Furuta situation, I feel like it did come off cheap at the beginning because we didn't really have the clarification for Furuta. We didn't have the backstory, and that's kind of why they were stopping and starting it, you know, adding the dialogue through it. We were always teasing with Furuta's character. We're always getting a bit of his past and backstory throughout the entirety of the series, and I guess now to bring him to a conclusion respectively after the fight's completed kind of makes up for everything. Good or bad as you may think that the fight between Kaneki and Furuta was, you know, maybe you thought it could have been a lot better or a lot longer or a lot more drawn out, or, you know, everything in between potentially. I feel like that Ishida has definitely done Furuta's character justice. He played on it at the very beginning of this fight, making Furuta seem relatable, and the early stages of him being quite a sorrowful character, a very tragic character, something very similar to Kaneki in essence, which he's never played on with Furuta throughout the whole series. We had some nice moments of his past, but we never knew that Furuta would be a character that basically just wanted to live. He didn't want any of this, and it's actually quite saddening, to be completely honest. I think the subtleness of playing on Furuta throughout the entirety of the story comes off well right now, and, you know, the mystery surrounding his character ultimately coming to a conclusion and fleshing out him a lot more, it's a nice touch. I think it showcases that there hasn't really been any massive villains in the story. From, you know, a perspective point, Furuta is not a villain. He's a villain against Kaneki, but in the overall grand scheme of the story, he is not. He is a lot more sadder than that. He is a lot more tragic than that. He has been, you know, warped and pushed down a path that he did not want to go in, and it starts to kind of all add up at the end of the day. You know, why he chose to dismantle and destroy the Washu family, why he chose to do a lot of different things that he done, is because of how he was as a child, because how he was manipulated and taken away from all of these good things that he had as a child because of his family, because of his blood, because of his curse and his future of not being able to live a long life. You know, the sadness of wanting to grow old but ultimately not having the opportunity to do so, having Rize taken away from him, having his family warp and manipulate him as a child, just ultimately destroying his future. The conversation between Kaneki and Furuta is so fitting. I think Ishida also done a nice job on re-clarifying Kaneki's mentality. And we've been talking about Kaneki's mentality for quite some time. The first interaction in Dragon with Rize and Kaneki was a clear kind of stepping stone towards that. A side where Kaneki would still to this day, knowing all of this outcome, would still choose this tragic lifestyle, would still choose this sad story, this sad path that he's been forced down. He would still choose this outcome because he has made friends, family members, lovers. He's got a child on the way. He has experienced all of these different emotions, these heartbreaks, these deaths, these tragedies, but he's also experienced love and compassion and friendship, shit that he would never dream about in his life. He has Rize to thank for that. Furuta and Kaneki are very similar in essence. In some ways, you could also say that Furuta is a polar opposite to Kaneki, a character that did not want to be forced down this way, a character that wanted to live a normal life. He wanted all of this stuff to go his way, but he was warped and skewered into something else entirely, something that he couldn't go back to, something that he may regret as he dies in this chapter, because he does come to a conclusion, I assume. It basically just dwindles away and they kind of end him on a flashback with him and Rize, and it seems like that he's well and truly gone. He's dead. I think in that aspect of polar opposites, he wished for another life. He wished that he could go back and change things and not be pushed down this path, whereas Kaneki would want to be pushed down this path knowing all of this stuff that is happening because of the things he has gained from it. Kaneki, from this tragedy, has gained everything, but Furuta has lost everything. To that extent, at least, they are polar opposites, and they revolve around each other extremely well. They also revolve around a singular piece in the middle, which is Rize. Connecting them both, connecting everything at this point, leads us to the end half of the chapter, because the entirety of it is a conversation between Kaneki and Furuta, and basically giving us more clarification on how Kaneki feels, how Furuta feels. There's just so much emotion in there, and like I said, I think Ishida done a pretty good job handling it, showing us the emotion in Furuta as well as Kaneki. The artwork was really specific in nature, and just the designs of the characters and just how he was showcasing them, in my opinion, a lot more intricate than usual. I'm not sure if anyone else picked up on that, but to kind of bring us to the ending of the chapter, we have Rize and the confrontation between Rize and Kaneki. Obviously, this is the end all of end all. Kaneki gets like a buzz in his ear from Kimi, and she's like, the nucleus is just up ahead, or for the oviduct, you destroy that and everything comes to a conclusion, and ultimately that is Rize. The final panel, boy, the final panel that you see with Kaneki kind of going into this crevice, a big opening, and I don't know what you want to call it at this point. You see Dragon, you see a Kagane, Kagaja, you see everything. You see the definition of RC cells, you see the definition of a ghoul, you see everything, and it leads all the way back to Rize, this white speck right at the end that Kaneki has to face and come to terms with, which I think mentally he's come to terms with Rize, but not physically, and this is kind of the big end all of end all. There's a lot of talk around Kaneki's ending, whether his story is going to be a tragic one, whether he dies, whether he lives, whether he disappears or gets absorbed, or whatever may happen, but at this point, this Rize confrontation will tailor the ending of the story, obviously. Just how, in what direction do we go in, I honestly do not know. The Rize thing is so up in the air at this point. Is she still connected to Dragon? Is she free at this point? Is she completely different? Is she something else entirely? Is she extremely powerful? Is she a rebirth of herself? Does she have the memories of Kaneki? Why are they connected? Like, there is so many individual pieces that just kind of go hand in hand with each other. I do want to throw out an idea that I literally just thought of them, and it's regarding Kaneki's organs. I don't really have any basis for this, and I don't really know why I thought about it, but for some reason I'm thinking of, if Rize's dying, so is Kaneki. And I kind of think of that more so in the essence of that Kaneki's still connected to Dragon because he's connected to Rize, and I feel like his organs may be the reason why he's connected to Rize, why he can like feel her presence or whatever. It could go all the way to the extent of saying that, Kaneki is basically Rize in terms of RC cells, and that's why he feels her, but he generally feels a connection with Rize some way and somehow. And I don't know if that's because he was just, touching the dragon structure, and maybe that's why as well, but I feel like that'd be an interesting way to go with it if, you know, Ishida were to go down the route of killing Kaneki off, obviously he could, you know, make him live and have a happy life or whatever. We don't know at this point, but just an idea, you know, if Rize falls, Kaneki falls, or if Dragon falls, so does Kaneki, because he could be still connected to it somehow. You know, we're talking about ghouls being remote controlled potentially, which yes, we still have to play on that, but I think at this point anything's possible. It doesn't seem extremely absurd to me that Kaneki could very well be connected to Rize with maybe the organs in his body that is keeping him alive. And Rize might even tell him this. It all kind of depends on what she is and what she's trying to do, and I guess her purpose, realistically. But I think the greatest thing about this Rize and Kaneki reunion, it's coming full circle. It's completely come back to where it all began with Rize and Kaneki. And when you think about that, right? When you think about the story and how long Rize's been out of the story, you'd probably never imagine that. Yeah, you'd probably never think that Rize would be the end all of villains or the end all of people that Kaneki would see or have to fight against. But it is, and it's symbolic. it's actually pretty unreal when you think about it. It makes me excited to see how far Ishida will go with, you know, having them kind of bring everything full circle with Kaneki and Rize's reunion. You know, do they merge together? Do they kill each other? Does Kaneki take Rize out of her tragedy? Does Kaneki take himself out of his tragedy? Like, does he live a happy life? Does he die? Does something else happen? I don't know. There's so many different options. There's so many different outcomes, but everything's completely coming full circle. Basically anything can happen. I don't know what the conclusion of the story is going to be, so we're gonna have to wait and see. There's just a lot of information that's still out in play, and I guess I'm interested to see how Ishida wraps everything up to the best of his capabilities. And that's basically it. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you guys thought of this chapter. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you sad to see Tokyo Ghoul Re come to its conclusion? And I guess, are you hoping there's a part 3? So with that being said, I'm actually going to end the video for you. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.